Do you play Fortnite by any chance?
What?
Oh,
Hello, Mr.
Go ahead,
Sanders.
Sykkuno.
I'm Sykkuno. Normally, I have a regular camera, but I have a skin condition, so I'm using this avatar. Do you know what a VTuber is?
Okay.
Have you heard of a VTuber before?
Nope.
No?
Okay, guys, look. Ladies and gentlemen, I am just getting word that Bernie Sanders is ready for us. All right?
What?
oh my God.
We didn't talk about anything.
No,
Chat,
I
do I
don't.
keep this up?
So
Do I keep this on?
I'd like to formally introduce, my colleagues, my favorite streamers in the whole industry. We've got Pokimane, we've got Sykkuno, we've got Valkyrae, and we are here to speak with Bernie. We're gonna have an opportunity to ask him some questions. He's gonna speak a little bit first, and we're all looking very much forward to it. We're also here to encourage you to vote. You can do so by typing exclamation point vote.
Please
In all of
vote.
our chats, it'll redirect you to a page where you can check the status of your voting. We all encourage you to get out and vote. Obviously, we know who I'm voting for, Kamala Harris. We're here to support the Harris Waltz ticket, and this is a great cause, and we're very excited to introduce Bernie Sanders, which I think he's ready.
Oh my God!
So I'm going to bring him in.
This is crazy.
And we're going to begin our conversation with Bernie Sanders. Just give me a second.
Wait, guys. I've got a crazy idea I just thought of.
I believe, let's see here. Once he gets his camera on, showing that he's muted right now. Hey, Senator Sanders.
Oh my God, it's
you?
actually...
Good. How are you?
Senators? Good. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to have you on here live on Twitch. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is AustinShow. I'm a Twitch streamer. You guys want to introduce yourself? Pokey, Sykkuno?
By me?
Mr. Sanders, my name's Pokey. So nice to meet you. I'm a big fan, as you can tell.
Thank you very much.
Hello, Mr.
Go ahead,
Sanders.
Sykkuno.
I'm Sykkuno. Normally, I have a regular camera, but I have a skin condition, so I'm using this avatar. Do you know what a VTuber is?
Okay.
Have you heard of a VTuber before?
Nope.
No? I'm the
that's
first
right.
one.
Yeah, it's the
Woo!
first
Thank
one.
you so
Senator
much for
Sanders.
supporting VTubers.
It's when they have this animated profile. or
That's
icon.
me.
Oh, there you are. Okay.
Yeah, no, believe me.
I'm
You're
so
looking
sorry.
good.
Yeah,
Looking very good.
Yeah. Senator
Thank you,
Sanders,
thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you on here again. Thank you so much for taking your time.
Guys, he thinks we're a
to
psycho.
talk about very
He 100%
important
thinks
issues.
we're a psycho.
And I'd like to give you the floor. I understand you'd like to say some things to get us started.
Well, first of all, thanks very much for organizing this live stream. Bottom line is, this is the most consequential election in our lifetimes in the history of the United States. In my view, simply stated, Donald Trump is not fit to be president of the United States. This is a guy who lies all of the time. He's vulgar. You may have heard just the other day, he decided that one of the most important issues facing this country is the size of the late Arnold Palmer's penis.
Of a what?
And that's, and
Yeah,
I,
they didn't
that
cover
would
this in
seem
the
to me
brief.
to disqualify him right away, but it goes a lot deeper than that. You have a guy, as I hope everybody understands, really does not believe in democracy. What democracy is about is you can
Dude,
disagree
Pokey is
with me.
eating this up.
You
She's
can
loving
vote
this.
against me. Then we have an election. And if I lose, I congratulate you. If you lose, you congratulate me. We have a peaceful transition of power. That's called American democracy. For the first time in the history of the United States, our long and extraordinary history, we had a guy who said, I'm not going to leave power. I lost the election, but I'm not going to leave. He fomented an insurrection to try to overturn the results of the 2020 election. So I think if no other reason, for no other reason, the fact that this guy's a pathological liar and that he does not believe in democracy is reason enough to make sure that he does not win this election. But there are many other reasons. I know that many young people are terribly concerned about climate change, as they should be. We see with our own eyes what's happened recently in Florida. in North Carolina, the terrible forest fires that we had in California, in Canada, the heat waves in Europe, massive flooding in China. On and on it goes. Every scientist who has studied the issue understands that climate change is real. Austin, do you know what Donald Trump's view is on climate change?
Well, you know, Senator Sanders,
Bro, he went into
I've
it
heard
quick.
him talk about it, and he mentioned, I think at one point, he said it would create more oceanfront property in Florida.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's
But
that sums up his
view.
view. Yeah.
Yo, Austin keeps up with this.
That it is a hoax.
Yeah,
and I
it's
want
fake.
everybody, a hoax created in China. All right, not only is that incredibly stupid, not only is that in defiance of what the entire scientific community believes, it's worse than that. Because let's be clear, if he is elected, the struggle against climate change is over and we lose. Because if the United States withdraws from trying to transform our energy system,
I want to know what
China
Pokey's
will
saying.
do the same. Europe will do the same. Every other major country on earth will say, the largest economy in the world, America, has given up. We give up too. And I tell you, with fear, I have 4 kids, 7 grandchildren. I worry very, very deeply what kind of planet you and your kids will be inheriting if Trump gets elected and we give up the struggle to transform our energy system and lose the fight against climate change. And then there's another issue. I mean, all of you know that since the inception of the United States of America back in the 1780s, women have been struggling for first-class citizenship. It wasn't until 1920 that women had the right to vote in national elections. Women 40, 50 years ago could not do the job. They wanted to be a construction worker,
Hey guys,
unheard of. You wanted to be a police officer, unheard of. You wanted to be an engineer, that's not what women did. But women and their male allies struggled and fought to break down barrier after barrier, and we have had some real success. I can remember,
She's having
I don't know, a few
issues?
decades ago, not so long ago, there are
Oh, that's
100 people in
unfortunate.
the
Hold on,
US
hold on. Let me
Senate.
adjust,
98 of them were
a
men,
little bit.
2 were women. But we have struggled to open up the political process, the economic process. Women have made huge gains. And the most significant gain that women have made, and I hope the men understand this.
He's going to say voting.
The most significant victory they have won is to be able to control their own bodies.
Oh.
And then you have Donald Trump.
Oh, wasn't voting?
Proudly telling the world that he
agree,
appointed 3 right-wing Supreme
Oh my
Court
God, I look
justices
like an idiot.
who helped overturn Roe v. Wade and take away
I thought that's
a
where he
woman's
was. I thought he was working up to
constitutional
that.
right,
All
to
important,
control
though.
her own body. So
Raise
to
back.
me, this is a no-brainer campaign. You know, and Trump has got to be defeated and Kamala has got to be elected. You know, what the political scientists tell us is that the younger generation is the most progressive generation probably in the history of younger generation in the history of this country. It has led the fight against racism, against sexism, against homophobia, led the fight to transform our energy system, take on climate change. That's what this younger generation has done. But there's something else about this younger generation. They vote in significantly lower numbers than older people do. So all I would say is if you are concerned about democracy, if you're concerned about women's rights, if you're concerned about climate change, if you're concerned about economic justice and the need to raise the minimum wage to a living wage, the need to get big money out of politics, the need to guarantee health care to all people as a human right, you can't sit out the election. You got to participate. So I hope we defy the experts and we see a very high turnout among younger people, and I hope people have the wisdom to vote for Kamala. So that's my speech. I'm sticking to it.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator Sanders. We really appreciate it. I understand that now you're going to give us an opportunity. We can ask you some questions. Is that right?
Fire
thank
away.
you. Thank you so much.
Hey guys,
look,
what should we
Senator
ask
Sanders, and I'm going to say this out to the audience. If you have a question for Senator Sanders, please feel free to put in the chat. If we're able to pull it out, we'll go ahead and ask it. Senator Sanders, I'd like to start off by asking something that is near and dear to a lot of the folks that are watching today. Our community, a lot of communities across the website have been calling for a ceasefire and an end to Israel's actions in Gaza, and I understand you share this position as well. A lot of folks have been opposed to the Biden-Harris administration's military and financial support of Israel. We know that you've been opposed as well, but you're supporting the ticket. So we want to know, can you talk about why you're supporting her, given your opposition to the Gaza stance?
All right, that's a very important question. Thanks for asking. So let me back it up a little bit. A year ago, October 7th, Hamas, which is a terrible terrorist organization, waged a horrific attack against Israel, killed 1,200 innocent men, women, and children, took several hundred hostages. In my view, Israel, like any other country, had the right to defend itself against Hamas. But what it did not have the right to do is go to war against the entire Palestinian people. And that is what Israel, under a very right-wing government led by Prime Minister Netanyahu, that is what they have done. The result of that all-out war against the Palestinian people in Gaza has been killing 42,000 people out of a population of 2.2 million, 2/3 of whom are women, children, and the elderly. They have wounded, injured over 100,000, again, 2/3 women, children, and the elderly. They have destroyed the healthcare system in Gaza. They have bombed every university in Gaza, destroyed the infrastructure in Gaza, destroyed about 60% of the housing in Gaza, displaced people, driven them here, there, and elsewhere. And now, as bad as that is, what is even worse, as a result of Israel under Netanyahu blocking humanitarian aid, today we're looking at thousands and thousands of children suffering from malnutrition and facing starvation. Now, as it happens, that is grossly immoral, unacceptable, and it is against the law. The United States of America, by law, cannot be funding a government which is denying humanitarian aid to civilians. So what we are doing right now is illegal, in my view, and that's why, I have fought against financial aid, military aid to the Israeli government for offensive weapons. They have a right to defend themselves for offensive weapons, and why, when Congress reconvenes after the election, I will have the resolution. It's called a joint resolution of disapproval, where we will have a vote to deny Israel being able to buy U.S. military equipment. So, I agree very much with people who are terribly concerned about what's going on there. Now, the Biden administration, I was just with the president today. I think on domestic issues, he has been very, very strong. I think on this issue, he is dead wrong. And I have talked to him over and over again. But all I would say to people say, well, I can't vote for Harris because I disagree with her on Israel and Gaza. Trump on even this issue is worse. He is worse. He is more pro-Netanyahu than Biden and Harris are. When it comes to humanitarian aid, feeding starving children, we can't get any Republican support in the United States Senate. So if we elect Harris, what you have my word on is I'm going to do everything I can to turn that view around. We do not need to be providing more offensive military aid to Israel. But we got a better chance to do it under Kamala Harris than under Donald Trump.
Thank you, Senator Sanders, for your answer. That provided a lot of clarity. I'd like to move into something that affects a lot of Americans.
Yeah, how's Austin so experienced?
And it's minimum wage. And you and I both know that the minimum wage has not been increased. The federal minimum wage has not been increased in quite some time. Can you talk about
the federal minimum wage?
How improving or increasing the minimum wage would help improve people's lives?
Is it $20 in California?
That's a very, very good question.
7.5?
And I want everybody to hear this because it's not
7.25? Wow, that is crazily low. Isn't it like $20?
But the reality is today we have more income and wealth inequality
17 in San
than we have
Diego?
ever had in the history of this country. People
that's
on
pretty
top
crazy.
are doing phenomenally well.
That's definitely not quite enough, I would say.
Paycheck. I grew up in a family that live paycheck to paycheck. I think many of your viewers are living paycheck to paycheck, struggling to pay the rent, to pay for food, to pay for healthcare.
I used
And
to
it
eat
is
frozen burritos
an
every day,
extremely
and I lived in my
stressful
grandma's
life.
backyard.
In the midst of that, as you have indicated, the minimum
Long
wage
time
has
ago,
not been raised for a very, very long time. And today it is an embarrassingly low $7.25 an hour.
Yo, chat knew that
Uh,
somehow.
What we have got to do, among many other things, is raise the minimum wage to a living wage. Okay, and I've introduced the legislation in the Senate to do that. In my own perspective, my own view, is that minimum wage should be at least $17 an hour. Because you have now, it's not that you have so many people working for $7.25 an hour, but you have millions of people working for $9, $10, $12 an hour. And you tell me, whether you're in New York City or in rural America, you can't make it on $12 an hour. You just can't. So it seems to me that if people are going to work 40 hours a week, they should not be living in poverty. Now, the difference here, you may have seen the other day, Donald Trump was in McDonald's doing what he was doing,
Yes.
flipping hamburgers or whatever he was doing.
Yep. Yep.
And a reporter said to him, Mr. Trump, what's your view on the minimum wage? And then he completely ducked the question because he doesn't believe in raising the minimum wage. He talked about how great McDonald's workers are. Truth is, you got thousands of McDonald's workers and millions of other workers trying to get by 12, 13, 14 bucks an hour. I believe we should raise the minimum wage to 17 bucks an hour. Kamala Harris believes that we should raise it to at least $15 an hour. If you raise it to 15 bucks an hour, not enough for me, but a good start, we can help the lives of millions and millions of working people. Trump does not believe we should raise the minimum wage. Kamala, 15 bucks an hour, at least, is what I think she said. So we're going to work on her to get it even higher than that. That's a real difference between the two candidates.
Thank you, Senator Sanders, for your answer. Right now, Senator, we have a YouTuber that's going to be a guest, and they'd like to ask you a question. Their name is Kamal. Was taken. Kamal, are you with us? There we are. There they are. Hey, Kamal, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
Good. Senator Sanders is here for you, and he's eager to answer your question.
I've never met this guy before.
Okay. Am I on camera?
You are. I see you perfectly.
Okay. Sorry.
No,
Hi,
you're good.
Senator Sanders. Sanders, first off, thank you so much for doing this. My hand is literally shaking. I'm talking to a celebrity. Obviously, Donald Trump has a lot of weirdo billionaire backers. People like Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, Mr. Dark Mag himself. I have a lot of family who are strong Trump supporters, but also care deeply about things like Social Security. So what would you tell my family to convince them that Trump's plans of all these tax cuts for billionaires, how would you convince them that this is actually not in their best interest?
When Trump was president, I think if he were on the show, he would tell you that his proudest achievement was the tax cuts that he implemented. And they were huge. 83% of them went to the top 1%.
Right.
Now, Kamal, I am guessing that your family, maybe I'm wrong, is probably not in the top 1%.
They're definitely not. The definition of middle class.
Okay. So we don't need, at a time when the rich are doing phenomenally well, more tax breaks for the rich. What do we need? We need to strengthen Social Security. I believe, that we should expand Social Security benefits. What I will tell you is that 80% of the Republicans in the House of Representatives think we should cut Social Security. They think we should move to the privatization of Medicare. So if you believe that we should keep Medicare and Social Security strong, I do not think it's wise to be voting for Donald Trump. If you think we should raise the minimum wage, you should not be voting for Trump. If you believe that health care is a human right, when Trump was president, he tried to end the Affordable Care Act. Now, I'm not a great fan of the Affordable Care Act, but it is providing health care to millions of Americans. I think we got to move to Medicare for all. But please tell your family that Trump's main concern is protecting the interest of the billionaire class. He could care less about the middle class.
All right. Okay. Thank you. I will relay the message.
Okay. Thanks very much, Jamal. Take care.
Thank you, Kamal.
Mm-hmm.
I appreciate it. Thank you, Senator Sanders. I believe we do have some other guests that are ready to ask some questions, but I'll ask a question here on a different topic, and it's one that you're very familiar with and you've been fighting for quite some time, and we collectively thank you for that. How do you feel about the current state of healthcare? Do you think do you think everyone has access to the care they need, or is more change necessary? I mean, I think
The answer is
know
no.
the answer, but
Even for me,
Austin,
the
thanks
answer
for
is
that
no, and
question,
I
because,
make good
again,
money.
It's not discussed very much in the
I'm
corporate
assuming the
media
answer is
or
no,
in
because
the
even
halls of
for me,
Congress.
it's hard to get stuff,
Under Obama,
you know?
we passed the Affordable Care Act, which expanded coverage to a whole lot of people, and that's a good thing. But it doesn't get to the root of our problem right now. I don't know how many of the viewers know that we are the only major country on earth not to guarantee health care to every man, woman, and child as a human right. Do you all know that? I am right now in Burlington, Vermont, 50 miles away from the Canadian border. If you go up to Canada, a country very much like the United States, since the 1970s, they have had a system in which if you end up in the hospital for 2 weeks, you don't come out with a $100,000 bill or whatever. There is no bill. It is publicly funded. They spend half as much per person as we do. Because, let me ask you this. Anyone want to jump in? What is the function of the American healthcare system? Is it to provide quality care to all people? Or is it to make, what do you think it is, Austin?
I mean, I would assume it's a for-profit industry for
I
health
think Austin's
insurance
saying that.
companies.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
And here's the result. The result is the pharmaceutical industry makes tens and tens of billions of dollars a year, charging us the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. Now, by the way, under Biden and Harris, and I just did an event with the president in Concord, New Hampshire today, we have made some progress in lowering the cost of prescription drugs, made some real progress. But we still pay by far the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. Our system is designed to make profits not only for the drug companies, but the insurance companies as well. That's what the system is about, and it's working. But meanwhile, we have 85 million people uninsured or underinsured, and I suspect many of the viewers today may have health insurance, but they have deductibles of $5,000, $10,000, and they can't afford to go to the doctor because they don't have the money to pay out of pocket.
It's pretty
So
expensive.
the bottom line here is the current system is broken, it is dysfunctional, it is cruel. 60,000 people a year die because they don't get to a doctor when they should. So my own view is we should look at the rest of the industrialized world. They manage to guarantee healthcare to all as a human right. We should do the same. I'm leading the effort on what we call Medicare for all, to expand Medicare, not just to the elderly, but to every man, woman, and child in this country.
It's insane to me that we live in the United States of America. This is the state of our healthcare. I went to an emergency room, Senator Sanders, in Florida, had a minor procedure done, $10,000 bill, surprise medical bill. It happens to folks, I'm sure, every single day. It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable. And
Yeah.
Austin, you know what the story is? You say that, and people say, "Oh my God, I don't feel well. I need to go to the emergency room." I'm not going to go to the emergency room.
Yes.
I'm not even going to get in an ambulance because it could cost me a couple of $1,000. It is an insane system. It is a cruel. Give you one other fact on this. You're getting me going here. We can go on for a few
it's
hours.
okay. It's okay.
Does Sykkuno understand?
I want you to hear this.
Yeah, dude, I went to the hospital recently.
You know, somebody comes down with cancer.
Quite
Think
expensive.
About it. You're fighting.
Even though I didn't
for your
have any
life.
crazy
you don't know
things
if you're
done.
gonna live or not. Turns out
I
that
think they charged me 200 just to
of
even
the
look at
people
me.
who have cancer treatment, have had cancer treatment, either go bankrupt or deplete their family's financial resources. So you're struggling with cancer, you're dealing with chemotherapy, you don't know whether you're going to live or die, blah, 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 blah. And then you got to worry about whether your family is going to be financially ruined. For what? Because you came down with a terrible disease. It is vulgar, it is disgusting, it is not worthy of the wealthiest nation on earth. So, you know, you got Trump out there who, when he was president, tried to kill the Affordable Care Act, make a bad situation worse. KAMALA is going to protect that, at least. She's going to lower the cost of prescription drugs, major problem. But overall, we have got to continue the effort to make sure that every man, woman, and child in this country has health care as a human right and not a system which simply allows for huge profits for the drug companies.
There's a new challenger. Who's this?
Senator Sanders, thank you so much. We have another guest here to
Mark
ask, I believe, one final question for you. His name is Mark Hamill. Mark, thank you so much for joining us.
This is Luke Skywalker?
We're all huge fans.
What?
And I understand you have a question for Senator Sanders.
Hey,
Yeah, well, first of all, it's a great honor to meet Senator Sanders, someone who I've followed all my adult life, and I'm grateful for his service. Now, when it comes to the question, I'm sure we all saw the stunt that Trump pulled yesterday at a closed restaurant with people hired to play customers and work at McDonald's. I noticed when he was asked whether they should raise the minimum wage in regards to workers like that in fast food restaurants, he avoided the question entirely. Didn't even attempt to answer it. Now, the minimum wage hasn't been raised in decades. You probably know better than I think, maybe 2000.
Oh, I do. Yep.
Okay, well, basically, I just want to hear your thoughts on all that I just put forward.
Okay, very briefly, we talked about it a moment ago, but bottom line is you're quite right, Mark. Trump ducked the issue, despite the fact that there are thousands of McDonald's workers trying to get by on 12 or 13 bucks an hour and millions of American workers. All right, Trump does not believe that we should raise the federal minimum wage, which is now $7.25 an hour. That's horrific. Kamala Harris believes that we should raise it to at least $15 an hour, which means that many millions of workers will get a substantial pay raise. So it is a very, very important issue, and one that I feel passionately about. I happen to believe the minimum wage should be at least 17 bucks an hour. Kamala thinks at least 15. We will discuss that, but at least we have got to raise that to a livable wage and not have Trump's position that leaves it at 7.25.
Thank you. And I personally worked at McDonald's. I've never put it on my resume, but it was interesting because when I first worked at McDonald's, I was living at home, and it was just pure profit. Fast forward to working at Jack in the Box when I was in my first year of college, and I couldn't live on that then. That was 50 years ago. So
That's right. And people can't. And by the way, they can't if they don't get the health insurance they get is pathetic as well.
Exactly.
So, it is. Look, it's an embarrassment that you have a so-called billionaire like Trump who doesn't think that we should raise the minimum wage above 7.25 an hour. All right. With that, Austin, I think I'm going to have to run.
Yeah, sure.
Listen, thank you all very much for what you're doing, guys. This is an enormously important election. Let's get everybody out to vote. Let's win this thing for Kamala. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Sanders, for your time.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you, Senator. Thank you. Well, that was amazing. Mark, do you have a few moments to sit and chat with us?
Sure. What's going on?
Hi, Mark.
He's Luke Skywalker.
Mark, is this your first time on Twitch?
This is him.
I think so.
Well, welcome. Give him a round of applause. There's a lot of people watching right now.
So,
Do you play Fortnite by any chance?
What?
No, I'm going to go do a fundraiser for Democrats
That's
with
amazing.
gamers, and I have to tell them in advance.
We love you.
I haven't played games since my kids were small. So
Aww.
I know. It's terrible, but I mean, it's the same with Star Wars. I haven't seen those movies since they first came out. I don't go back and watch them again. So these people will come up to me and ask me these questions, and they've seen those movies far more times than I have, far more recently than I have. And they play the games, they read the comics, they read the novels. One guy was saying to me, when you went to the Wookiees' home planet, I said, wait a minute, did we go to the Wookiees' home planet? Well, it wasn't in a movie. It was in Splinter of the Mind's Eye. What's Splinter of the Mind's Eye? Oh, it's a novel by Harry Dean Foster. Again, I mean, I disappoint fans because they know more about it than I do.
No, you're never a disappointment. Also, if you ever want to learn, it would be easy. So just know it's always at your disposal,
Oh, well, that's good to know.